Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja, and we're continuing our series about what to expect after you've encapsulated the crawl space. And today I want to talk about the sump pump. If you have a waterproofing system inside of your crawl space, you probably have a sump pump in the crawl space. You may even have a battery backup hooked up to that sump pump. What kind of maintenance is involved in maintaining that sump pump? And also I'm going to give you some installation tips if you need one installed. Stay tuned. If you're new to Crawl Space Ninja, we talk about everything related to crawl space encapsulation, waterproofing, French drains, yard drainage. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel, ring that notifications bell, follow us on Facebook, and also check out our DIY store and our franchise opportunity. Okay, so a lot of times people don't realize that you need to install a waterproofing system inside the crawl space, and I've gone over this in some of the other videos, but one of the things you want to make sure of is that you don't encapsulate the crawl space and overlook the flooding issue that you might have down there, because if you take on standing water, you got to rip all the plastic out. You could flood your dehumidifier and destroy it. So I want to give you some tips for determining whether you should waterproof your crawl space or not. So if you put a moisture meter on the block wall, on the foundation wall, and it's got high moisture content inside the wall, there's a good chance in the future, maybe 1 year, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, that you could take on some standing water in that crawl space. Go ahead and invest in a sump pump, invest in an interior French drain system in the event that you might take on standing water, because you'd hate to spend thousands of dollars on encapsulation and then have to rip it all out and do it all over again. So what makes up a crawl space waterproofing? You've got an interior French drain. We use the NDS Easy Flow piping for that. The vapor barrier is also part of the waterproofing, but the heart of the waterproofing is the sump pump, okay? You wanna make sure you install a sump pump a minimum of every 140 linear feet inside the crawl space. That way, if you're taking on a lot of water in certain areas, you don't have to rely on that piping to get that water 300 feet away from where it entered to the sump pump to be discharged. So we like every 140 linear feet. We always wanna put it in a basin to protect it from clay and soils and things like that. And of course, we want to connect the piping directly into the basin so that the water in the pipe flows directly into the basin and can be discharged quickly by the sump pump. So those are just some tips there for install. We've done a few waterproofing. One of the ones I want to recommend is that you check out the 8 things every homeowner needs to know about sump pumps. I'll put a link to that one down below. And if you're concerned about removing standing water during thunderstorms or hurricanes or tornadoes, always install a battery backup on that sump pump as well. As far as maintenance goes, sump pumps are fairly easy to maintenance. Now, I just did a video on dehumidifier maintenance. We recommend you maintenance those every 6 months. A sump pump can get away with once a year. Okay, so there's some great products out there that we utilize to clean the zooglea, the bacteria off of the sump pump, and to make sure that it is maintained properly. You also want to get down there and check that sump pump. You can lift the float switch to test it out, but that doesn't necessarily cover it as far as I'm concerned. I think you should fill the sump pump basin with water to make sure that the water can lift the float switch, because yeah, you can raise it because you got enough power in your hands to do it, but you want to make sure the float switch is working when the water raises it, okay? So that would be a good thing to check, maybe every 6 months, but at least once a year. Make sure you check that float switch, all right? Make sure you get all the zooglea off of the sump pump. If there's any mud in the bottom of the basin, make sure you get all that out. You can use a wet dry vac to get that stuff out. And then also make sure that the discharge line is not compromised. So whenever you do a test on the sump pump, go out in the yard or wherever your discharge line is and make sure the water is actually making its way out. And of course, always install a check valve to make sure that the water, once it leaves the basin, doesn't flow back in, and then you got a cycle of on and off of the sump pump, which can burn them out. So I hope that helps you all determine whether you need some waterproofing down in your crawl space. I'm Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. Hope you make it a happy and blessed day. We'll see you later.